White House's proposed immigration deal gives a major concession to Democrats, amnesty, a pathway to citizenship not simply for DACA beneficiaries, but for about 1 million other people and maybe more. But instead of being happy about getting what they asked for, Democrats as a group are rejecting it out of hand. They claim the deal demands increased border security and less unskilled immigration. And that's an effort to hold dreamers hostage and is itself a form of white supremacy. The ranking Democrat in the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi of San Francisco, went on the floor recently to call this, in effect, racism. Is it? Henry Fernandez is a fellow at the Center for American Progress, and he joins us tonight. Mr. Fernandez, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Always good to be here, Tucker.
So we talk about immigration a lot with guests, but you're a little different because I think you take the subject very seriously. You think about it. You have for a long time. You know, you sort of know what the numbers are. And I'm not paying you false compliments. I'm serious. So I want to ask you an overview question because I think you can handle it. You probably thought about it. So the year I was born, 1969, the United States had 202 million people living in this country. 2015, the population had gone to 324 million. That's more than 60% increase. 3 years later, it's even higher than that. 2065, it's expected to be at 441 million. That's a 118% increase. Now, all of that pretty much is due to immigration. And my question to you is, what's the right number? How many people, immigration shapes the number of people who are here. It drives it. How many people should live in this country?
That's a really interesting question. I haven't spent a lot of time thinking through that, but you know, I feel like it's certainly one worth discussing and trying to figure out what our policy should be with regard to growth. Perfectly rational.
But isn't that kind of the central question? I mean, population defines everything in a country. By the way, the cost of infrastructure and schools and medical care, all of that is connected directly to population, and it just changes the country completely. Why haven't you thought about that?
Well, I guess what I'm interested in right now is a much smaller group of people, just a kind of very narrow issue, which is these dreamers, and making sure that they have a pathway to citizenship here in the U.S. So that's really been my focus. I haven't thought. You clearly think in really big ways, and I try to be narrow
just because it's completely changed the country that I grew up in some ways for better, I think, and in some ways
for better. I mean, it's
maybe,
a more just
maybe.
country.
I mean, you could debate it. In some ways, definitely for worse. Crowding is bad, right? Beijing is a disaster. Puget Sound is beautiful. I mean, population is related to that, so density matters. So here's my question: if you're for the dreamers, then you must be pretty happy with this proposal from the White House, which gives them amnesty. Why should, and we were led to believe that all the left wanted was amnesty for these people who are brought here as children against their will, and I kind of got that. But now Democrats are saying all of their relatives have to come here too and get public services. So like how does that work?
I don't think anybody's actually arguing for all their relatives or for public services. Look, there's actually a very interesting bill that's out there right now, very bipartisan, from Congressman Hurd, Republican, Congressman Aguiar, Democrat. It has 52 co-sponsors, 26 Democrats, 26 Republicans in the House, and it does exactly what we need to do right now, which is focus on DREAM and making sure dreamers have a pathway to citizenship and border security. That seems like a fair trade, and what the Trump administration has tried to do, really driven by Stephen Miller, who seems to be the puppet master on this, is to try to throw in the kitchen sink here every kind of crazy nativist extremist idea.
That's extremist.
Well, I think I just said that it should include border security. I think that's a fair
nativist.
trade.
I mean, spare me. Let me ask you a serious question, though. So I hear from a lot of people, I think including you, that it's in America's economic interest to let these people in. And they're largely from Mexico, not entirely, but the majority are from Mexico. So if that's true, if a lot of low-wage labor makes a country rich, then why isn't Mexico rich?
I guess, are we talking about the dreamers, or are you?
I'm talking not simple. I'm talking specifically about the dreamers, but you could apply the same question to about 1 million people we admit every year for the sake of giving employers lower wages. Why aren't the countries from which they're coming rich if low-wage labor is the key to prosperity?
Well, I don't know, about your family, but let's look at most American families and how they got here through immigration, which is that people come to the United States because of what it says on the Statue of Liberty, right? That they're coming because they are coming for economic opportunity. They're coming because they're fleeing despotism. This is how the Irish wound up here. This is how the Italians, how the Chinese.
I'm sorry. I'm just asking a really simple question about the people who live here now. And a lot of them are from other countries. There are a lot of really decent immigrants who live here and are citizens. How are they, how are all of us going to benefit economically from continued low-wage immigration? I'm not asking whether it's morally great to let people in. Of course it is. I'm asking about the economic benefit, and I never get an answer to that because, as you know, there isn't one.
Well, no, actually, I mean, if we look at immigration, it's pretty consistently agreed upon by virtually all economists that immigration significantly benefits the U.S. economy. If we take just one issue.
That's a lie. You shouldn't say that because it's not. No, it's just not true. It's actually, I spent a lot of time on this. It's not true.
So let's take one issue, right?
We're almost out of time, so give it to me quick.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Okay, just the Social Security Trust Fund. It relies heavily on immigrants to subsidize the large number of people who are retiring now. So actually, it's not a lie, and I would never lie to you, Tucker. That's not what I do.
Okay. Henry, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Good to be here, Tucker.